I'm hoping everyone can hear us now. Okay. Are we coming through? Are we coming through?
I hope we are. welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the EPIC38 Starcraft 2 Grand Finals.
Yeah? Brought to you by Intel.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm getting quicker. I'm getting quicker. I'm doing it.
My name is Joy, and of course, this is Hart. We are getting ready to jump into the first game of our best of 7 series. Of course, Jumy, coming into the upper bracket, has that one map advantage. So Razer has to win 4 games, whereas Jumy only needs to win 3. Big advantage here going into the Grand Finals. And of course, Jumy managed to beat Razer 3-2 in the upper bracket previously, but it was a wild, wild series and could have swung either way. So interesting to see how this is going to end up.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, opportunities for wins from both players, and I just think now we're in the finals. People are taking it a bit more seriously. We're going to be sweating a little bit harder, and I think Razer's really going to try not to let that get away from him.
Absolutely. I mean, Razer really needs to make the most of his chances here. He's not going to get many of them. I reckon Jumy, with the stage presence he's got, will actually absolutely bring it to Razer. Can Razer bring it back for King and Country? We'll have to see. Obviously, he's the last of the UK people here on stage. Jumy representing Germany, and of course K10, wherever you are. No one there, apparently.
No noise for K10?
No
Okay.
noise for K10, okay. But a lot of noise for Razer, though.
Razer and Red Dragons, let's hear it. Yeah, I am Kettering, yeah.
Okay, very good. We are now in the lobby, getting ready to start.
Yeah, we're loading now quickly into Neo-Humanity, I hope.
Whenever the players are ready. I'm very interested to know exactly what strategies both players will pick out for this series. I'm just looking over.
Look at their faces.
I'm just looking over to see if they've got their headphones on, but it looks like they do. So the countdown is now started. I'm getting ready for game number 1 of the series.
Yeah, Neo-Humanity, it's one of the smaller maps in the pool. I think most people consider it to be like the kind of weird map, the kind of cheesy map. It's got this weird golden wall between your linear third that makes the games a little bit weird.
Absolutely. We have a lot of short maps in this map pool, so keen to see what Jumy's going to bring out. If he's going to bring the spice, give it up for the green Protoss player. For K10, it is ForJumy.
And the home crowd favourite, I'm hoping, let's make some noise, playing in the red for Red Dragons, is Razer. There we go.
Much more noise there for Razer. Clearly the crowd favourites. So we saw it in Zane in the previous series from Razer. He really likes to go for that ultra-safe Rax gas opening. Going for the 2 Rapers and the Hellion. He's going to get scouting information and potentially get some pro kills. We'll have to see how Jumy defends that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, as Razer just played a series against his brother Zane, and, that was a Terran versus Protoss, of course. I'm worried that he, maybe showed his hand a little bit, showed a few of the strategies that he'd rather, save for this game. But, that remains to be seen. And I wonder how much attention Jumy was really paying to that series.
Man, Jumy with these probes. Previously in this series, we have seen Jumy get very spicy with his probes, damaging a lot of SCVs for an Adept to follow on later and just one-shot all of Razer's workers. This probe, however, not so lucky, does get pushed back. And we do have the double gas opening there from Razer, like I mentioned previously. So very safe and potential for aggression there as well.
Yeah, I imagine it will be, like you said, Reapers into a fast factory, and then we'll see everything else.
Yeah.
Let's see now what Jumy is doing. Okay, he's going to get walled out so that he doesn't get a full scout. And as you said, the Reaper coming down now for Razer.
Yeah. I'm assuming Jumy hasn't seen the 2 gases yet. So Jumy actually doesn't know what he's up against.
No, I don't think he went into the main far enough to see anything, further than the racks. But I think he's opening, fairly normal. He did go Nexus before Core here, and then following that up with his second gas. He has blocked off the Reaper spot. I think that fully blocks the Reaper spot on this map. Maybe you need another building?
I think you need one more building, but even then it's not too much of a problem. I mean, the Reapers and Hellions will probably just attack down the front, and if there is a wall off in the future, very near future, then the Reapers can just grenade units out the way and it's no problem. I did speak to Razer earlier, by the way, and he said he's got a list of build orders that he's willing to try out, and he hasn't done all of them yet. So he's still got some sneaky builds up his sleeve. Clearly in this game he's going for the ultra-safe Reaper Hellion. This pro, he sees the fact that there's no CC, so he must suspect that there's a double gas opening on the way.
Yeah, he maybe thinks that that's, maybe a sneakier play from Razer, but I wonder if he saw the SCV. I'm nearly certain he would have seen that as he sent that probe in. So he probably knows that the CC is now on the way on the low ground, but I think sending this Adept out across the map, he's definitely going to see that. And he has chosen a tech behind this as well. It's a Stargate follow-up.
Yeah, again, ultra safe, ultra standard at this point for TVP. Stargate's opening. It's probably going to be an Oracle first. This deceleration zone is actually going to catch these Reapers off guard. One's taken 2 hits already, so that will die. If the Adept can get on top of it, it doesn't. Yeah,
with this Hellion reinforcing, I really think this Adept has to be a bit safer and has to head home probably quite quick. It's going to take quite a lot of damage here.
It's going to take a huge amount of damage thanks to this deceleration zone. It turns around trying to fight back, but eventually goes down. Big pick off there for Razer. There's now fewer units to defend for the Protoss as these 2 Reapers and Hellions go through. This Adept here for ForJumy is out in the middle, out in the open, trying to catch something. Just about shades to the natural where the shield battery is, so it's back up to full shields. No problems there for ForJumy.
Yeah, going to wall off here by the looks of it and play a bit safer against those Hellions. I think it's always a worry when I see the Reapers with the grenades, with the Hellion follow up behind it, because they can get your unit can get bumped out of the wall, and then suddenly you've been full scouted. You've got units where you don't want them. So yeah, I think the wall off's a good shout here.
In fairness, that second Adept got a lot of damage onto one Reaper and the Hellion, so it was very risky for Razer there to dive into the natural to get any sort of scouting or damage off. These 2 Reapers will catch the Oracle, so Razer now knows it's a Stargate. The Oracle actually picks off one Reaper, is chasing the other one down, but the Cyclone picks it off.
I think Razer may have to scan here to get enough vision to finish that off, and it doesn't quite manage it.
Just not enough DPS there at the Cyclone. The Oracle comes back in again, but it's got no energy there for any sort of harass onto the mineral line.
Yeah, on the other side, it is going to be Phoenix follow-up. I think we already have one on the field with maybe more on the way, and then a Robo behind it. So I'm expecting this to be likely like Phoenix Colossus kind of play.
The question is all about how many Phoenix is ForJumy going to go up to. I've seen him earlier go up to 6. He can go up to higher, potentially 8. Obviously, Razer going for the 3 racks opening, so his starport's going to be very late. He's going to have essentially no Vikings at the start of this push with the stim and combat shields. So a lot of Phoenix is going to be really annoying to deal with.
Yeah, they dive in and get on top of those tanks and pick those up, and then all the other Adepts and the Colossus underneath are going to really help to clear up that bio, like you said. And with no starport, there isn't going to be no medivacs, so any damage that any of the bio units take is going to be permanent then for the rest of the game until those medivacs hit the field.
Yep. Razer's hoping to get a really muscular push here with stim combat shields onto a potential 3rd base of ForJumy, but ForJumy, it looks like he's not gearing up to take a 3rd base just yet. He's getting the Robo Bay now, just to round out his tech. Going up towards that Colossus, but still no sign of a 3rd base at all from either player.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a little bit harder to take on this map. If you want to take that triangle 3rd, the only one that isn't gated behind those golden minerals, like I said, you are expanding towards your opponent, and this kind of looks like a tank push coming out from Razer, I think. So he's probably pretty reluctant to try and expand, closer to the person who's trying to run tanks at him. So I think this is a good choice, honestly.
I mean, you can just see on the right side of the screen there, stim and combat shields have just finished, and so these flying units for the Protoss player are just coming in to deal some small, annoying economic damage. Huge stasis ward actually is going to really delay this push. Yeah,
catching 2 tanks there and a bunch of bio. So I guess the bulk of this force, which is the tanks, has been really delayed in the middle of the map there. And ForJumy will be feeling great about that, I'm sure.
It's just a really frustrating feeling. Although the Oracle and the Phoenix are going to get caught out by Razer, the Oracle does go down, so no more stasis wards, no more vision either. That vision spell of the Oracle is really annoying to deal with because essentially the Protoss player has perfect vision at that point.
Yeah, like you said, those constant marking on those units is really tough to deal with for the Terran. He does force the siege up quite far out for ForJumy.
It's miles away, but the bio is still here, and this is a lot of DPS from the bio, so the Protoss can't step too far forward, otherwise the bio will just pounce on it. Of course, there is a shield battery here, but it's way in the back by the natural. The SCVs are here to get some kind of defensive structures down, but the Protoss player is stepping up, but the DPS is just too good. The Zealots do not have charge, so they die almost instantly. The bio is kiting the rest of the army back into its own 3rd base. The bio now is standing underneath all of the air units. Razer's doing it. The Colossus is out in the open, eating all of the tank shells. The bio's taking out all of the Phoenix. All of the Phoenix are nearly gone. It's on top of the 3rd base. That's got to get cancelled, otherwise it will die. 2 Colossus now are here. As soon as the tank's on siege, they may get jumps on. Not in time. The tanks re-siege. And now the third base is dead. Razer stepping on forwards, assaulting the second base now of ForJumy.
Exactly what Razer wanted to get done with this push. You know, he cleared up those Phoenix. It was almost like one hand didn't realize what the other was doing. We just saw a slight disconnect between the Colossus and the Phoenix, and now the Colossus are tanking tank shots, which is
the Colossus are
pretty
stepping
mega.
up, but there's no gateway units
One
there.
Colossus goes down.
Look, Immortal goes down, Colossus goes down, and what's left? One Colossus, half a Stalker, and a Phoenix. That's all ForJumy has.
I think Razer needs to take a beat here and keep reinforcing this push and keep getting the damage done that he needs to. He has taken good damage and knocked out a lot of the really expensive tech units that ForJumy had made, but this defensive position is really tough to break.
You can see on the minimap, Razer is streaming his units across the map, trying to reinforce his position just to take ForJumy out of this game here and now. He's nearly on top of the second base. Bear in mind, there are now 2 Colossus here. The shield battery overcharge goes off just to save some of his gateway units. There's not a lot of bio here left over. It's pretty much just these tanks. But they're doing so much damage to these Colossi. One nearly goes down. The Phoenix is trying to lift them up, but the turrets are here to send them off.
Those Phoenix are so low, and
He's
the
calling down
mules to repair the tanks and keep this push alive just a little bit longer. I think one tank went down in that fight, and ForJumy has been playing with these Colossus absolutely perfectly, keeping them alive as long as he can. The disruptor hit just goes slightly wide and doesn't quite get that tank. But look how weak Razer's stimmed bio is. He just has no medevac, so every stim, it does so much damage to his own units.
My worry is that this push is running out of steam. Of course, there is a third base here for ForJumy, but it is behind the golden minerals. Razer trying to step up to pick up that disruptor, but it does not go down. Saved by the shield batteries. There's a 4th tank here now for this push. The Phoenix are here as well, but they don't get too much done. One Colossus nearly goes down. Disruptor goes down.
Colossus.
There's no more energy on these shield batteries. Only the overcharge is there to keep his units alive. The Phoenix lifts up one tank that's isolated. It looks like this will get sent back eventually, but not without cost.
Just so close. These units are so expensive for both players. I think Razer just made slightly too many Marauders and not enough Marines, so he couldn't really deal with the Phoenix, as ForJumy just kept making them after losing the first batch. But behind that, ForJumy's got his third up, but lost so much of his tech. I really do not know who's ahead in this game.
Let's put it this way. Both sides lost a lot there in terms of army supply. The difference, though, is that ForJumy has this backup third base. He's mined out the golden minerals on the ramp to the left of his natural, so he can access that third base. Razer doesn't know about that. Razer just thinks that he's taken out a base, he's taken out some expensive units, so he's going to carry on now, just take a chill pill, relax, try to macro up, not realizing the fact that ForJumy is actually in a decent position.
Yeah, and we do see Razer scouting on the right-hand side here, looking for that base, and he realizes that this triangle base hasn't been taken, so he must be thinking now, okay, maybe he has this one on the left, and he is now going to see it, but it might just be too late. And if Razer has, if ForJumy has mined enough from here already, then breaking this position is going to be really tough.
Interestingly, despite losing lots of Phoenix, ForJumy is not only remaking them, he's building extra Stargates and going for the +1 air weapons.
Yeah, he even has a fleet beacon, so I wonder if he'll go for Phoenix range. I think it's 2 Stargate, 2 Robo. It's actually going to go straight into carriers.
Despite this ultra-aggressive opening from Razer, ForJumy has stabilized and is going straight into this ultra-late game composition with carriers. It's interesting to know if Razer's going to give him the space to make the most of this, though. He's attacking once again with 2 tanks and a handful of bio. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough to break that third base. It's a very easily defensible position, this inline third.
Yeah, it can be tough though once Razer gets positioned well, into this choke and forces ForJumy to walk through his tank lines. But there's just not as many tanks here.
4 cannons, a shield battery on the way with Colossus with range and another Colossus out. Carriers out now. These Phoenix are going to just dispatch the medevac super quickly and just lift the tanks. I don't know.
This is absolutely insane. I think he's going to try and force the shield overcharge.
There's just not enough DPS.
No, it's just way too many units.
Phoenix lifts up the tank. They're shooting on the medevacs, and there's not enough bio here to tank for the tanks to be able to survive the Phoenix.
Yeah, Razer does have to pull back here, but I wonder if he's just lost too much. And the momentum is all the way in ForJumy's court now. I think he is going to get pushed all the way across the map now by these Phoenix. And behind this, ForJumy, like we said, is just teching really hard. He's getting those really late game units, the Colossus, the carriers, even getting some more Phoenix behind this. I think this is going to be really tough for Razer to break.
It's just so difficult to attack into that, especially with the Phoenix, like you mentioned, because they will just chase you down once you start to retreat, and there is no escape from them.
Yeah, we do see a scan coming down in the main for Razer, but I wonder if this is a how dead am I scan, because what he sees is
he sees carriers. He sees carriers being made, so he knows what he's up against. This is just going to turn into a ultra macro fest. It's going to turn into Gabe's game against Destiny earlier.
This is going to be a bit of a slugfest. I was on this map as well. Let's see if it can go to all 42 minutes like that game did, but somehow I doubt it. I really think ForJumy's position in this game is just way too strong. Razer's stuck on bio, and he's now only just getting his 2-2 on the way. He's putting starports down now, so he can get I guess, like a lot of Vikings, you really can't afford like mass BC or something. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of Vikings and try and fight the carriers, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
The thing is, there's just no window here for Razer to be able to make an attack. So like you said, he's just going to sit back, take a 4th base, round out his tech. But at the same time, ForJumy can't attack either. He's better off waiting to max out on those carriers and the Colossus. So we're just going to have to sit back and chill out. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a macro fest after that really intense opening that turned out to be a bit of a wash, I think. In the end, you know, trading blows for blows kind of hasn't gone, you know, either player's direction all the way. I think in the end, ForJumy probably got the better half of the trades. You know, like we saw, his 3rd was just a little bit quicker than Razer's, and you know, now his 4th coming down on location is going to be a little bit quicker too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ultimately, it looks like, as you said, ForJumy's just ahead in supply. He's ahead in the economy at this point, purely because he managed to get that backup 3rd base. If that hadn't gone up, then Razer would have been in a commanding position. So despite the tumultuous early mid-game, we end up in a situation now where ForJumy is just eking ahead.
I really think ForJumy is just building all the units that Terran players hate to play against. It's carriers, it's disruptors, it's Phoenix. Now he's using those double robo for 2 disruptors at a time. I think he's gone up to 2 or 3 Stargates. So, you know, that's like 2 or 3 carriers at a time. It's pretty gross.
Plus 2 air weapons as well. This is going to annihilate any sort of squishy targets like Marines, Medevacs, the like.
Yeah, we do see Razer getting into the Vikings now. Which
such a scary army. It's actually trapped the Terran army here against the rocks. He's trying to DPS down the rocks. It's not going to happen. They're all caught out of position. Even some of the Medevacs go down to the Phoenix. And ForJumy takes a commanding lead now in this game.
Yeah, I think he's just going to keep pushing across the map here. Catching Razer's forces out of position like that is definitely really rough. And it's really rough, you know, for the Terran, as he can't pick up into those medevacs and, you know, jet out of there because they'll just get followed and killed by the Phoenix.
Absolutely. But you can see, because this army is so immobile, he's not going to chase all the way back into Razer's 3rd base. It is a very defensible position, like I said on that location. Razer taking his 4th base in the same position where ForJumy's taken his 3rd, ForJumy's already got his own 4th base set up and mining. So again, it is this ultra late game macro fest, like you mentioned earlier. We can see that Razer is slowly, he's getting the Viking count up nicely. He's building Vikings 6 at a time now with +1 air weapons. So again, it's going to go to air versus air.
Yeah, a little birdie before the game told me that Liberators are actually surprisingly good as anti-air for the Terran, and I wonder if Razer is going to sort of go that way. I think the only problem is, you know, while they do AOE, they're just so squishy, so expensive, and so short range. And in a comp like this, I don't know that they're going to ever get close enough to actually fight the carriers when there are this many. I think we must be up to now like 8, 10 carriers on the field.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Liberators in large numbers will annihilate Interceptors, but at the end of the day, you need to take out the carriers at some point. And if there's enough Stalkers underneath, potentially Archons and Storm as well, then the Liberators are just going to evaporate, like you said. But ForJumy's stepping up now into this 4th base. He's picking up the small amount of buy. The Vikings are coming in from the flank. They're actually taking out all of the Phoenix. He's going to start taking out the carriers. Oh, look at those disruptor shots
hits
all over the Bioforce. It's just like 2 tanks and some Vikings left, but the Vikings are going down one by one. I don't know if there's enough here for Razer. He's down in supply massively now.
I think this is the comp every Protoss like absolutely dreamed of. It's so many enormous, expensive units, and that's a good win for ForJumy. You know, he really weathered the storm.
Absolutely.
You know, held off the tank push that Razer is actually, you know, pretty fond of. You know, he does that in a lot of his matchups. I've seen him play it many times. So
I think, like you said, it's just the most hated unit comp for Terran players to deal with, because you have to sit back, you have to get those Ghosts and Vikings, and he did have a high Viking count, but just not enough bio. The Disruptors managed to connect very nicely onto the bio at the front there, and there just wasn't enough for Razer.
Yeah, exactly right. I think while ForJumy maybe had a bit of a stumble at the start, you know, he sent the Phoenix in way before the Colossus, so the Phoenix died, and the Colossus, you know, didn't even get in to take the fight very well. You know, he behind that played it very standard. You know, rebuilt the Phoenix. Didn't, you know, get jumpy, didn't get overexcited, didn't, you know, push too far out of position too early or too late. And I think it really paid off, you know, the way he played that fight towards the end.
He did everything just right, everything he needed to be able to take that dub.
Yeah, I think you're right. And this is definitely going to be worrying for Razer. You know, he's needs to pick builds now that he's really confident in, he thinks are going to work. He's down technically 0-2 in this in map score in this series so far. Yes. As we go and set up on Dragon Scales.
So ForJumy only needs to win 2 more to be able to take down his maiden Epic Land. How does that feel?
He's a Royal Roader, what can I say?
That's not true. He did lose the map to Frogs earlier.
Okay, that is
I'll
true.
remind him every time as well of that, by the way.
I cannot wait for Frogs' illegal act to boost about 1,000 points.
Well done, Frogs, by the way, wherever you are.
We're now loading on to Dragon Scales. This is, more of a standard map than Neo Humanity. It's still pretty small, pretty short rush distance. So yeah, we'll see what Razer's got in mind for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Razer has a big book of builds apparently, so we'll have to see what he reaches for and grabs out of the build this time. So let's introduce the players.
Playing up here, now up 2 maps in this series. Playing in the green for K10, it's ForJumy. Golf claps, people, golf claps.
The CSGO player is very fond of ForJumy apparently.
Who isn't?
And in the bottom right, the Red Terran player representing the UK and Red Dragons, it is Razer.
There we go. There's a bit of noise. So like you said, Razer, does have a book of, builds he can pull out. And I saw him Googling for a few more a few nights ago. But, ForJumy isn't afraid to do, a few weirdnesses, a few weird things. We saw him against Zane. He played a proxy 2-gate Forge, which is mind-blowing. And then even I think in another 2 games, at least in that series, he played like weird proxies. I guess they're not that weird in Protoss versus Protoss. They're actually pretty normal in Protoss versus Protoss. But that doesn't mean he can't do it here.
the BM out of ForJumy there. He's confused by the damage he put onto the SCV apparently.
We've got a GG out from Razer there, and I'm hoping it will be.
Yeah, with all the question marks Jumy's putting out here, he's a very confused man.
What spray do you have set up?
I don't. I
honestly,
honestly didn't know it was even a thing until I saw it this LAN.
Oh, I have the little cheese, the little triangle cheese.
That's very nice.
Yeah, my proxy hatch drone drops that every time. No proxy hatches in this game, as we are going to see a slight deviation. The probe going down.
Okay, that's a slight misclick there by ForJumy.
Absolute first blood win for Razer there.
Yeah.
But ForJumy's playing this a little bit safer this game. He's getting the Cyber Core before the Nexus this time.
I wonder if that's for some potential aggression. If he's going to chrono out at the depths, that's going to get there very early onto this command center that's building. We do see Reactor first out of Razer, so he's going to have way more Marines than he should do at the early point of the game.
Yeah, is it never Reactor Reaper? Is that not a consideration really?
Sometimes you might go Reactor Marine, and then of course Reaper builds twice as long as a Marine, so you'll have 1 Reaper, 2 Marines. So it works out the same as Reaper fast expands, and of course you get the Reactor quicker. But it is 2 Marines out of Razer, so that's just there, nice and defensive for any gateway units that might make their way across the map. And the DPS for Marines is very high, so for any potential Widowmine drop in the future, if there are 4 Marines in there, it's very nice.
So we'll see now as the game progresses. We're seeing another gas out of Razer and the factory behind it.
All
we are
standard.
getting a safety shield battery for ForJumy. I wonder if he's seen something that makes him think that something is coming.
I think it's just in case there's a Reaper. This shield battery just completely shuts down any scouts, so you don't have to send your units back home to defend. The Adapt is here now. It's getting nice damage onto the Marines. It's hunting one of them down. It shades forwards, but there's a nice wall off there for Razer. The 3rd and 4th Marine then mean the Adept has to go away, otherwise it will die.
Yeah,
is
this is
Jummy
nice
paying attention though? Yes, he is. He walks that one back. That would have been very dicey there had the Marines collapsed onto the Adepts. The 2nd Adept is here now, so I think ForJumy can actually take this fight. He needs to be careful though, because with more and more Marines, there's more and more DPS and shade forwards. Is it going to see the factory with the reactor? Yes, it does. I think before we've seen Razer go for reactor factory, but he went double Hellion. Yeah,
you can do a Hellion drop and go for some workers that way. This game it is going to be the mines. I wonder how much he reads into that and how much the correct responses to those is different.
We saw it in the first series that they played in the upper bracket, where Razer went for lots of Widow Mines, an early armory, so the Widow Mines were invisible. Just to make the advantage of any sort of early Twilight and late Robo, which is exactly what ForJumy has done. He's gone for that early Twilight Council and very late Robo. Robo's in time, though, for any observer to be able to see the Widow Mines, but still, that doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be safe.
No, it's definitely up to more of the pulling the probes away micro, trying to avoid the splash damage on those workers as much as you can. A little birdie also told me that Widow Mines do bonus to shields.
That's true, that's correct, absolutely true.
Not many Zerg units have shields, so this isn't something I was aware of, but there we go. What do you think of the tech here for ForJumy? He's going straight hard into the charge upgrade.
Yeah, does ForJumy have Blink? I didn't see if he was upgrading it or not.
No, I think this is the first upgrade.
Okay, so going charge first is a really interesting stylistic choice. Normally you would expect to see Blink first into charge, but no, charge first, followed by a Warp Prism. Again, interesting to note how many gateways ForJumy has, because this is quite a late third base.
Yeah, I don't feel like he's overcommitted on the gateways at all here. It's just these 3 coming down.
Well, he's going up to 4 gates on 2 base with charge. This is some kind of pressure play, it looks like, with the Warp Prism as well. But is there anything at home to defend against this Widowmine drop?
This is a fantastic scouting pylon.
There's no observer yet, though. He meant for the Warp Prism first. There's nothing at home to detect. As soon as these Widowmines drop, the probes will be pulled. Observer now starts, but again, this is still really annoying to deal with as the Protoss player.
Yeah, and delaying mining in a few different locations is obviously really strong as well. Did ForJumy send the Warp Prism across the map? I didn't notice if it came home or if he just left it out.
It is on the map and it is warping in. Looks like Razer is going to try to drop the Widowmines defensively. Is that even a thing? He's not even going to do that. He's going to drop it into the natural, it looks like. He's pulling all the SCVs back into the natural. The potential splash damage is huge. All over the charge.
Huge amount of friendly splash damage onto the SCVs. But it does look like Razer's going to hold here with these...
yeah. With all those Marines, he's going to defend from that comfortably. The Warp Prism, though, is still warping in Razer's main base. The Observer is now out, picking off the Widow Mines. But look at all these charges that's coming in now. The main base of Razer is still not mining, and he's targeting down Stim. This is huge for ForJumy.
Yeah, with Stim cancelled, it's really going to affect the follow-up from Razer. If there's any follow-up at all left in this game, you know, I think ForJumy's just going to keep, you know, sending in these charge lots.
Look at this.
He's just going to warp them in Razer's base uncontested.
There's very few Marines left here for RazerBlader because he was on 1 racks for so long. And of course he went 1-1-1, but all the Widowmine drops...
must have been huge. We are going to see more drops here though.
Oh, 9 probes!
Are enormous.
11 probes go down. Bear in mind that although Razer has a very few Marines, he's still got a massive economic advantage.
Yeah, he is managed to save a lot of those SCVs by pulling them into the natural. He's finally making a Viking, which I think he should have done a while ago.
Oh, look at this. The splash damage from the Widowmine just goes all over the chargelets.
He's even doing some really cute little Marine.
He's going to take out the Warp Prism as well. Razer shuts down that attack by taking out the Warp Prism. That is a huge pick-off.
Yeah, and following this straight up with some more racks. For ForJumy, it's going to be the Templar Archives follow-up, so he can get into Storm.
But there's still no third base. There's still no third base. Here's the thing. Razer not only managed to get some economic damage done on ForJumy's side of the map, he also shut down ForJumy's attack. And although it looked quite dicey, ultimately Razer's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly good position for him to be in. 19 probes have gone down so far this game.
Yeah, played an absolute stunner there, I think, and he's now going to be moving into a 3rd CC, get some more barracks up. I think he does need to get this Stim. Letting this Adepts in is going to be a bit of a problem.
And 3 Adepts, of course, one-shot workers, so ForJumy, once again, getting some counter damage back onto Razer. The Shade is going to finish it, looks like. I think they just managed to escape, though, outside of Razer's natural.
Yeah, ForJumy is just barely now evening up the worker count and putting himself, you know, back into this game a little bit.
It's just such a scrappy game, because both are still stuck on 2 base. This mine is going to go off. Only on 1 probe, unfortunately, for Razer. The Observer's here so that it can see the Widow Mine, but we do have another drop going into ForJumy's main base.
Yeah, in the meantime, there's still these 2 Adepts back here, even
so
slowing down the 3rd
CC
a little bit more.
And they're picking up all of these injured SCVs as well. Razer's now down in worker count compared to ForJumy. It's still not bad for him by any means, but compared to the working lead he once had, it's no longer there.
Yeah, and Razer is just sending in single mines and single dropships one at a time. Just be really annoying. You know, this isn't going to get the huge amount of damage that a 4-mine drop would, but you know, it's constantly keeping ForJumy on his toes. It's constantly making him, you know, send the Observer, send all of his army to go and clear the mine, because you know, obviously if he leaves it alone, it's going to refresh, it's going to fire again, and then the potential for damage is huge.
We now see Razer's upgrades are about to finish. We see combat shields just started. Stim is nearly done though. And when that finishes, I'm keen to see how Razer is going to push. Is he going to wait for combat shields or just go immediately and try to gun down the 3rd base?
Yeah, I think it really depends how he feels his position is in this game. He was probably feeling a lot more confident before he lost quite a lot of workers to the Adept harass. But I still think, you know, he rightfully so feels fairly safe here. Whether he thinks he needs to go for an attack or whether he wants to go for an attack is a very different thing, you know.
Yes.
There's a possibility that if you feel like you need to go, you end up just pulling the boys and going all in, and whether he does that or not remains to be seen.
Nice scan on the Observer there, takes it out, but the Observer sees the 3rd base landing anyway, so ForJumy knows the position he's in, i.e. it's not very good. The worker count is in, or the income is in Razer's favour here. The Warp Prism going into the natural now with 4 chargelets. I heard a Stim somewhere, so Razer must have seen it. He's going to try and chase this down. Oh, it's Templar! Storms all over the mineral lines, gets...
Only 3 kills after all of that.
Only 4 SCV kills. Yeah. That could have been a lot worse, but still not great for Razer though.
Yeah,
once
definitely
again,
could have been a really big loss there.
ForJumy just eking out small advantages with the Adept Harass, like you said. Adept Harass was a lot more successful than Widowmine Harass done after the Warp Prism was sniped in the initial attack. The Storms pick off yet a few more workers, and so once again, we see this game just both players trying to find small advantages here and there. The question is, though, how ForJumy's going to deal with Raz's inevitable attack. When Stim and Combat Shields finish, Widow Mine connects with the Warp Prism.
One mine does not kill a Warp Prism just yet. I've been begging the Zerkabal to put that change through, and we can just get those one shot, get them off the field, not bothered. We are seeing ghosts out here for Raza and a few Vikings coming through as well. I feel like he's going to go for a timing here. I feel like, you know, once he gets that tech out in the ghosts, I feel like he's going to feel confident enough to go for a push.
Raza has now decided that now is the time to go. He's now moving out across the map. He's got his Ghost, he's got Widow Mines, he's got a large amount of bio that's well upgraded. Whereas ForJumy, he has +1 armor, he has a decent number of Archons, but he's caught out of position.
Yeah, he's
Raza
moving out at the same
stimming
time.
forwards. ForJumy's done this time and time again. When he knows he can't take a direct fight, he just moves out across the map trying to counterattack. But Raza's army is already here. The splash damage from the Widow Mines is already huge. A High Templar walks up trying to get a Storm on, but the EMP is already good. High Templar doesn't go off. There it is, out of the
huge out of the Warp Prism though.
But the Archons are all down. There's very few gateway units here. He's picked up the last of the High Templar. There's a Warping of Chargelets that will clean up this attack, and Raza has to kite them back.
But Raza, I think is very happy here just to pick up his units and go home. You know, that was a really good trade, and he keeps the army advantage in this game. You know, while the supplies are pretty even, you know, a lot of the backbone of the Protoss army, a lot of the complexity, you know, the Archons, the High Templar, all got taken out in that fight. And now Jumy is, you know, warping in Zealots to try and harass. But I think you need to be building up, you know, AoE and, you know,
the Warp Prism
a real
gets
army
picked off again. So although ForJumy has been warping in Raz's main base, it looks like these units will get cleaned up. I don't think that's very cost efficient for him at all. So Raza taking good trains left, right and centre. Fancy drop micro there, saving the Marauder as well.
If you've got it, you've got to flaunt it, I reckon.
That's why they're there and we're here.
Yeah, I'd have lost like all of my Marauders already. To that one Zealot. So ForJumy is going to scout the push out across the map again. I think this won't be too surprising to him, to be honest. I think after a fight like that, where you know you've lost a lot of Templar, you know you spent a lot of energy, ForJumy's doing a Zane.
We've seen this at least 3 or 4 times this tournament. I don't know what all the Protoss players have been smoking, but they're putting their bases really far away from the rest of their infrastructure.
Diamond ladder builds, I think. This is what all of my
smells like an A.
My opponents do. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so the Vikings do find the Warp Prism, so they do have to jettison the High Templar, but the rest of the Terran army is here, sharking around, trying to find a good angle to attack from. But
this is
the
really
Ghost is trying to find a decent EMP.
This is really a fight of AoE. So it's going to be the storms from ForJumy
Look at the Widow Mines
versus
as
the
well.
EMP.
They're going to connect with all of the Chargelets. They eat so much damage. And Raza just steps up, takes out an Archon. There's a decent storm there onto the bio. Is there any more? There's one more up on the top side. But look at Raz's bio, there's nothing to fight against it. The last Archon falls down, the bio steps up, taking out all the expensive units. Another Archon goes down, there's one final warp in, but that goes down as well. GG is called, Raza takes the game. GG, well played.
Absolute blinder from Raza. He will not be going out, you know, 4-0 in this fight. You know, he's going out at least with one map. I don't think he's going out at all. I think that looked really good from Raza.
Raza comes back absolutely swinging. I mean, it came back to the fact that Jumy had a weird build there. It was 3 or 4 gate charge on 2 base, very slow 3rd base, and Raza shut down the attack and dealt decent damage with his Widow Mines. Yeah,
this was after scouting Raza's full opener. You know, he knew it was reactor on the factory, so he kind of knew what was coming. I think it was pretty obvious it was going to be mines. The possibility for Hellions was obvious, but you know, it wasn't. So I do think he's got to reassess after that. I think he's got to have another think, because having scouted your opponent and reacted in the way that you wanted to react, and then it just not work, you've got to be a little bit worried.
Absolutely. We'll have to see what both players pull out of the bag this time. We are now in lobby, and the clock is counting down. 5 seconds until we get in the game. Both players just wanting to crack on. Again, really keen to see what strategies and build orders these players pick for this time. Yeah,
going now into game number 4 on Ancient Cistern. This is one of the bigger maps in the pool. It's nice and colourful as well, if you're into that.
It looks very much like Whirlwind LE. Back in Heart of the Swarm.
Don't take me back. Don't take me back. PTSD, I think.
All right, let's introduce the players. Spawning in the top right, 4K10. It's the green Protoss player, ForJumy.
Kettering, let's make some noise for Red Dragons Raza.
Woo! Clearly, we're all very tired after a very long LAN.
It's been a long one. There's lots of games so far, but it's been an exciting one for sure.
Razer clearly taking a leaf out of my book, which is go for a very cheeky early scout.
Is it a scout or is it a? Is he sneaking something?
We'll have to wait and see. So ForJumy himself is sending a probe out across the map. I think this is just a high percentage play, just to try to find something.
He smells something in the water.
Well, the probe is going to go across the map and just look at Raz's base. But let's see what ForJumy himself is doing. He's going for that one gate at the moment, one gas. So it's likely he'll go for either a Cybercore then Nexus or Nexus first. But we'll see how he reacts to seeing the infrastructure in Raz's base, i.e. the lack thereof.
Yeah, he's going to come up here now and see, oh, surprisingly nothing. He's going to keep looking and see, surprisingly, too much. And this is definitely going to influence his decision. So it is going to be that Cybercore before Nexus, you know, unlike in the earlier game where he did play the Nexus before Cyber.
Yeah. So he builds a Zealot, which is very safe, and he's also got the Cyber before Nexus. Again, like you said, very safe. I'm wondering if Razer might see this and then just throw in like a Macarax, where you build your racks at your third base, make the Protoss panic, and then float it back over to your main. But this is actually going to be really frustrating to deal with because Jimmy knows there's a proxy racks. He actually builds this pylon here so that when the Zealot finishes, he can just send it across the map and then just destroy Raz's SCVs.
Yeah, it's going to stop the full wall coming down in the top ramp there for Razer. He is going to send this this Reaper in. It's going to see the shield battery, you know, on the way, and maybe, you know, hopefully, I think, get some probes here. But the micro from Jimmy has been good so far. Pulling back the
very good. Pulling back all the
down,
weakened probes.
2 down.
2, potentially 3 goes down. Well, it looks like.
Yeah, with the Adept here, I just don't think you can stay for too long.
Back. Yeah, absolutely. The Reaper will get pulled back. Adept Shade is going to finish. It's not going to kill the Reaper. Reaper does stay alive, which is very important. You always want the second Reaper to marry up with the first so we can get that damage done. Yeah,
I think it needs to get home quite quick, though, because it needs to get into this bunker to defend from the Zealot. Razer has these 2 slightly unfinished supply depots here, and the Zealot is going to start harassing, losing an SCV to the Zealot.
Actually take out the SCV, building the supply depot. But the Reaper's now back in the bunker. It's going to send off this Zealot. There is a factory on the way, but it's just actually finished a tech lab. So that's going to be a Cyclone, surely.
Yeah, you'd think so, unless, you know, he's not building anything yet, so he may think about switching that over with the starport and maybe going for something a little bit cheekier.
Possibly, we'll have to wait and see. There it is, Cyclone and Magfield Accelerator. So Razer looking to see his map control with that Cyclone and the Magfield Accelerator.
Yeah, ForJummy's being really careful here and sending these shades out just to scout for other proxies. I think it's very possible for a proxy factory here. Some people even do this thing where they like proxy the factory and then float it into the opponent's main and make mines in their base, which is an incredibly base play.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because EXO, our observer, has just highlighted that there is no vision in the west side of ForJummy's main base. So Razer could very easily have done that, but ForJummy, he's going for that Twilight Council yet again into Robo. 2 Reapers now jump up, but again with a shield battery here, they can only really take out these intercepting probes. Adepts out of position to be able to defend this, but Razer gets the scout off. Very nicely done there.
He cancels one but saves the other. Yeah, I think sending both of the Adepts to one spot or the other, you're just going to get kited back and forth by these Reapers, but splitting the Adepts there was really smart.
Really
it does
nice
mean that these Reapers get out, though.
Yeah, really nice micro there by ForJumy to cancel one shade, not the other. But ultimately, both Reapers get out, having killed a probe, and get a decent scout off as well.
I think Razer's natural CC has been delayed. Yeah, it's been harassed down by the Adept and forced the SCV to delay that CC building just a little bit.
But it does cost the Adept its life. The Cyclone gets its first kill. Both Reapers brought back to Razer's base, which is interesting.
Yeah, so it does reveal the Cyclone, and ForJumy knows that's on the field now. So he is going for Blink Tech instead of Charge this game.
It's interesting because seeing the first Cyclone, you might just think it's a safety Cyclone, but it's not. It's actually, a Cyclone aggression with the Magfield Accelerator. Seizing map control is Razer. The upgrade is already finished.
He's not committing to this mech play too hard, though. It's going to be a Brax follow-up, and I think he's going to go into this like Stim bios. He's quite comfortable with follow-up.
But ultimately, Blink Stalkers do very well against Cyclones, even with the Magfield Accelerator. But 2 Stalkers go down for only a Reaper, so it's a good start here for this attack. There is a shield battery out the front here, so I don't know how much longevity this attack has, because with battery overcharge as well, and the Stalkers Blink is nearly finished. Once there's a critical number of Stalkers, these Cyclones can't get too much done.
Yeah, I love the landed Viking here. You know, they do bonus to mechanical.
But look at this. As soon as they're away from the shield battery, Razer locks on, takes out 2 more Cyclones. It looks like he's microing these Cyclones really well. Battery overcharge has to be popped super early now.
Yeah, and these units are just being so irritating. This is not a huge investment either. You know, at the end of the day, you can pick those Vikings back up and head home. And you know, it was obviously a few Cyclones and a big cancel on the third.
That's a very ambitious third base. But look at this. Razer's Cyclones deal so much damage, they can just straight up fight these Cyclones, fight these Stalkers even. Looks like two Cyclones do go down, so this attack has to retreat. But again, Razer just being really annoying. ForJumy wanted to get that third base down, he had to cancel it, and it cost him a lot of Stalkers to do so as well. 6 Stalkers have gone down.
Nearly 5 times less efficient than Razer has been so far in this game, even losing some probes early to those Reapers, and I think this has set Razer up really nicely. He's down quite a lot of workers, but I think Mules are OP.
Mules are very good, but you can see Razer just rounding out his infrastructure, building the rest of his barracks, getting the rest of his upgrades, and so presumably as soon as Stim Combat Shields finish, he's going to go for that attack on the third base with Widow Mines.
I wonder what the idea with making these Vikings walk home is. You know, they could just fly and then not have to take the really long winding route all the way through the middle of Ancient Cistern here. Instead, they're going to waddle home, which I guess it's just cute.
So it looks like with Blink finished now and a few gateways, ForJumy's going to get spicy, try to blink up into the main, but there is a tank here.
Yeah.
Nevertheless,
ForJumy
might be able to get some damage onto the add-ons, but with the Cyclone here and the Bio now moving up as well, I don't know how much more damage this can get done.
Yeah, I think picking up those 2 SCVs and a Marine kill is for very little investment at all is pretty good. But Razer was completely in position, completely prepared for that sort of play. So ultimately, Jumy is not going to get too much more done with these Stalkers out on the other side of the map.
He may try again though. Even if he picks off the reactor, he weakened it in the first blink. He may try to pick it off in the second.
Yeah, I mean the one you're really after is the Stim research, right? And that's
yes, but that's really far back in Razer's main base, and it's so close to finishing now. I don't think ForJumy's ever going to get that one.
Yeah, I think that's the dream. So ForJumy is just going to play with these Stalkers to just be a little bit annoying. Obviously, there's no Medivacs on the field just yet, so any damage these Bio take is like permanent, whereas the Stalkers can take shield damage, blink away, regenerate the shields, and that's free trades that you're getting.
But notice how ForJumy's keeping the Stalkers out on the map. He knows he has map control, so he's just going to pick off a few units here and there, and as soon as Razer moves out to attack, these Stalkers will instantly see it. They'll kite back, try to do some damage, maybe even pick off a tank or a Viking on the way back, all the way to ForJumy's third base, at which point he'll have chargelets that are, although they will have +1 armor. So again, it's looking pretty good for both players. It's a pretty even game at this point.
Yeah, it's going to come down now, I think, to the follow-up. While ForJumy has been macroing really hard and has got a huge worker lead and therefore a huge income lead, his army is pretty unsophisticated. I'd love to see Storm or, I think, Disruptors, but honestly, I think versus Terran you do need some kind of AoE.
He is going for that mass gateway style, though. We have seen it before. We have seen this mass gateway style before, so we'll have to see how it works out this time round. These Stalkers are doing their best just to delay this attack. They are kiting the rest of the Terran army, just distracting them. A couple have gone down. But look at this chargelet flank. He's going to get on top of all the... They're going to catch the SCVs as well. The SCVs are getting massacred here. The whole point of putting these SCVs is so that they can tank for the Bio. The Bio do come back to pick off the chargelets, but it's not before a tank's already been caught out. And all the SCVs, all the buffer has gone for this Bio now.
This is a really big pickup for ForJumy, I do think. This is going to be rough for Razer pushing forward now, because those Bio units have been stimmed twice. They're really, really getting into the orange, getting into the red, and any more stims is definitely going to be really tricky for Razer.
And there really aren't many Medivacs here either. It looks like ForJumy's pulling all the way back. He is sending out 1 Warp Prism to counter-attack, but in the meantime, can Razer deal critical damage? So
Razer's only lead in this game at the moment is about 16 army supply. Like I said, I'm quite a big fan of Razer's comp. I think ForJumy's is kind of weak.
Look at the Dark Templar. Are there any scans? Yes, there's one, but again, can ForJumy just bait them out one by one until there's none left?
And he is going to have the Warp Prism over in Razer's base, so warping in DTs in your opponent's.
It's going to be one of those really. This is going to be one of those really janky base races, like we saw in the upper bracket earlier today. It looks like ForJumy is pouncing on top of this army, but there's just no surface area for the Zealots to get on top of this Bio. It's dealing out all of its damage for free, and look at this. Razer knows it's a very similar situation to what we've already seen today. He's going for that base race.
Yeah, and I think he's slightly quicker on the uptake in this base trade this time. He is actually building turrets so that ForJumy's DTs will be revealed, because when you have your orbitals lifted, you can't scan for those invisible units. But again,
it's so difficult to know who this favors, though, because ultimately I think the quality of Razer's army is just that much better. He's unpowered all of the infrastructure. There is a DT actually left still picking off Razer's units, and there's no scans because all the orbitals are lifted. Just now there's one, but not before all the Bio's gone down. GG is called. What a ton of events!
absolutely crazy base trade to round out our 4th map in this series.
Yeah, it looked like for a moment that Razer was going to do really well in that base trade, unpowering a lot of the gateways and keeping a very high DPS, a very high quality army. But clearly, lifting up all the orbitals, that 1 or 2 DTs could just swipe away at all the bio until there's essentially nothing left.
Yeah, and I think in this sort of, like you said, intense base trade situation, you really do need to lift your Terran buildings. That's the one advantage you do have. That's why they say never base trade a Terran, and you move them out of the way. We are seeing ForJumy looking a bit happy here.
A bit of a cheeky grin there from our German Protoss player. He knows he got away with it.
I think he got away with it a little bit. He's been playing, got the DTs out just in time, and taking a good trade there. You can really use them to whittle down the opponent's forces and slow down the base trade. And while you're doing constant DPS with the DTs, forcing scans out, therefore no mules are being dropped for the Terran. You can just keep making them and send them in one at a time. And like we saw at the end there were just no units left for Razer to fight, even against the Stalkers that ForJumy had. So
ultimately, this brings us to match point now. 1 more win for ForJumy, and this series is over. ForJumy takes place the gold prize. Can Razer come back swinging? He needs to win 3 in a row now. Does he have the mental to do this? It's
an uphill battle for sure, but we have seen, Razer, going against pretty rough odds. I've seen him play it against T-Ball in, the finals, having lost to him previously in the upper bracket, which we did see, in this Epic LAN as well. And these are not spots that he's unfamiliar with.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope the pressure doesn't get to him so we can see more excellent Starcraft. We're loading into the game now on Babylon.
Yeah, Babylon is really quite a short map. The rush distance across the middle is really quite small.
All right, let's see what either player pulls out of the bag this time. Will they try to end it quickly? Let's see. Let's introduce the players. Spawning in the bottom right, the green Protoss player. In it for the win is ForJumy.
Kettering, he needs your energy, playing in the red for Red Dragons, trying to fight for his tournament life here in potentially the last map of IEM Kettering 38 is Razer.
Powered by Intel.
Powered by Intel.
Right, AC and Volticus are sending their energy there to Razer.
It's a good community we have here in the UK, and I think if you're watching from home, please try and get down here. It's a lot of fun. You will not regret it, I promise.
Absolutely. It's a really good community feel here. But again, let's look at the game. Razer going for a very safe build, like we saw in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think while he did that, proxy Reaper, it was, I think, 1 or 2 Reapers that he made in the end. I think ForJumy weathered it so well that he's probably dissuaded from trying that build once again. I think he's more comfortable not in those situations anyway. I think that just isn't really how he likes to play. So yeah, going to be a much more standard opener this game.
ForJumy sees everything instantly though. He sees the double gas build. He does the BM question mark again. I need to ask him, why is he putting down question marks? What is he confused by? What's he got a question about?
I think it was that tiny SCV pool that got nothing done, saying, Is this game going to be the Nexus first? And I think that's because, like you saw with this Probe Scout, there's nothing really weird out of Razer. He's not proxying the racks once again, so he feels more comfortable going for that, more eco-focused play this game.
This Probe is trapped at the Terran's main base, though. It's likely he's going to recall this. When the Reaper pops out and starts damaging the Probe, he won't have long to be able to recall this worker.
Yeah, I know that mathematically it's better to recall it, but I think a lot of people just sack it and call it a day.
Fair enough. All right, so we see the second Reaper on the way now. So this is quite a difficult map, I think, to try to do the Reaper Hellion run by, given that it's a very narrow ramp going into the natural and it's uphill as well. So you haven't got that vision.
It's the two things you don't really want. It's narrow and it's upper choke. So yeah, upper ramp into that choke. So yeah, it's definitely a rougher one for that Reaper Hellion play, like you said. It's going to be a Stargate follow-up for ForJumy. I think it's probably going to be those Oracles into Phoenix again, like you said, like we saw in Game 1. I think that's a pretty good opener. It worked that time, so I think do it again.
We'll have to see if it's going to turn into that carrier sort of composition, the one that I mentioned earlier that Terrans all hate, because there's no way to deal with it without turtling yourself going into Vikings and Ghosts. Looks like these Reapers are going around the map just to see what they can get done, just to see what's there.
Scaring the birds.
Yeah, I was convinced Razer was going to shoot those birds down, but I'm glad he didn't.
No. the man's going to be a father. So
he's
got to
a
set a
man
good example.
of peace.
Yeah.
If it was ForJumy, I'd know he'd kill those birds.
Oh, 100%. Forest players have no soul.
There we are. Hellion with the 2 Reapers. They're going to go now into the natural. They're going to try and take out this Adept, but the shield battery is going to finish in time to be able to defend it. Looks like the Hellion will go down to this second Adept.
Just barely
Just
scoped by,
about.
but really this is nothing more than a scout, and Razer does get deep in here. I don't even think he's going to get a probe kill, but obviously does scout that the Oracle is building. I'm not sure this is really what he had in mind for those Reapers and that Hellion. It was, you know, a risky play and a bit of a dive.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes you see Terran players getting 4 or 5 probe kills, but if they do get that much damage, then you're just ahead as a Terran player. But getting simply 1 or 2 probe kills and the scout, I think that's enough to make it worth, but obviously could have been better.
Yeah, so it is going to be just the 1 Oracle into Phoenix play. On the other hand, Razer has a safety Cyclone out, but he's not going to be committing into the upgrade like he was in the game
Not
previously.
at all. But he's going into that 3 racks play that we saw earlier as well. In that first game, where Razer did that 3 racks play, he actually lost that game, but he won 3 times against Zane. So clearly this is Razer's preferred style. So rather than put it all on the line, go for a really off-the-wall type of build, he's going for the same thing that he knows best, his bread and butter.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But behind this, ForJumy is also, I think, playing to his strengths, playing, you know, as safe as he likes. He's got the Phoenix coming out, he's got a Robo following this up, and I think it's probably going to be that, like, Phoenix Colossus style that people
look at this. They're going to go into the stasis sword. It gets everything, but I think that's just slightly annoying. It's not actually that bad at all.
I think he's going to be feeling quite empowered now to go in with the Phoenix. I don't think he can pick up the tank, but yeah, getting a mule for free is pretty good. A couple of workers here as well.
And a couple of SUVs. Just being really annoying. I mean, I wouldn't say this is tilting. I think Razer has a stronger mental than that, but certainly for me, I'd fly off the wall and start smashing the keyboard at this point.
I mean, haven't we all? Yeah, this is a really interesting play. I've never really seen, you know, just dropping that stasis ward and then baiting your opponent into it. But, you know, like we see, it's that sort of 1-2. You do that, get a few worker kills, and it's these slight edges. And this now puts ForJumy up nearly like 11 workers in the game so far. It's going to be Robotech behind this, so I think it will likely be Disruptors or Colossus behind it.
So it doesn't look like we have a Twilight Council at all. So it looks like rather than going for the charge follow-up with the Charge-Led Phoenix, he is going into that Robo style with the Colossus Phoenix style of play. But he has paused the Phoenix production. Oh, he's just restarted. There we go. Yeah,
they're quite expensive, and I think you don't want to make them until you kind of really need them. It's obviously better to invest quicker into the tech so that you can start getting more of those really like long build time, really expensive units like the Disruptors, like the Colossus out as soon as you can.
I mean, Razer sees that ForJumy has gone for double Oracle, and of course, why would you go double Oracle unless you're going for some kind of air composition? I think the weakness of this composition is that it has very little meat to it early on, and I think that's the reason why Razer's now stepping up. But of course, there is enough here. There are gateway units, there is an Immortal, and there are some really ultra annoying stasis wards.
ForJumy's coming to meet him in the middle of the map here, and this trying to bait him into the stasis ward once again. That's insane. Everything but the tanks, and I really think ForJumy should dive on this. He can get those tanks completely for free.
He gets everything right after a stim as well, so that stim was essentially just free damage onto the bio. I think ForJumy has just realised the position he's in. He steps up now just to take out everything, but as soon as that stasis comes off, that's a lot of DPS out the bio. He can't neglect that.
I think ForJumy slept on this way too hard, and now the bio is going to be completely waking up.
He realised too late that he
can he do it again?
Jumped on it.
No, okay, only grabbing 2 units this time, but not because Razer noticed, only because those units are just that little bit faster and split off and triggered the mine by themselves.
There is a Colossus, and there's a bit more here for ForJumy to defend. Those stasis wards have bought him valuable time. Razer's trying to get a decent position to intersect the second and third base so he can dive on either, whichever is weaker, whichever is less defended.
Yeah, one thing ForJumy did really well this game is forcing the siege up way far away from his bases. You know, these tanks are now like really threatening nothing. I think they're a good like launching pad for Razer to start threatening that third base.
But we saw this in the upper bracket earlier. Yeah. Razer had this very slow leapfrogged tank push. It looks like ForJumy, whenever he steps down, he just eats so much damage.
I really like the turrets building for Razer here. It just, you know, really shores you up against those Phoenix.
Completely denies the Phoenix play in every way. The bio's going to stim down. It's going to have to cancel this third base, otherwise it's just a free 400 minerals for Razer. Really nice play here. Looks like he's going to try to go in with the flank. Phoenix lifting up the tanks. The turrets aren't done yet, only one. But look at the bio stimming in. He's going to go on top of the Colossus. Both are very weak. They neither go down, though. There's just enough bio here left over to take out all of the gateway units. The Immortals go down. The Colossus goes down. Razer takes a significant advantage here. The Nexus wasn't cancelled either. That's going to go down. Razer advantage.
The Graviton beam finished just before those tanks died, so they survive on like nearly no HP and land just in time to get a couple of those Colossus. I think he has one left on really low health, and Raza I think is going to be really happy here to take the third kill and go home.
But Raza leaves one tank undefended. It just about goes down. But bear in mind, Raza has no medevac, so all of these bio units are so low. Couple of swipes from that Colossus, even on the Marauders, and that's it.
ForJumy's getting, I think the nerves are getting to him. He's getting slightly skittish here, and he was losing Phoenix on the back end. He is now having to remake them and making disruptors instead of Colossus here.
He's desperately trying to get that third base up as well. I didn't see if that goes. Oh, it was cancelled in the end, but still, I mean, ultimately, ForJumy is up against it.
So Raza's CC has been slowed down. That would be his third that he would then, lift out from his natural and send that over to the triangle base.
I think both players are first flustered. Both players are nervous. You can see that the production of that CC is paused and it hasn't restarted
he does
yet.
need to restart that, because this is really his main economic advantage in this game.
You can see oversaturation on the gases as well.
And
the
a misplaced Nexus in the top right. It's really coming down to it, and I'm sure they're playing at like a million miles an hour.
Both players making uncharacteristic mistakes. It looks like Raza is going to pull all the way back though.
Yeah, and picking up maybe a Phoenix here.
Phoenix for a Cyclone, not a bad trade.
Not really worth it. Hopefully he doesn't lose his medevac, because that's, like we've said, this bio is so overstimmed all the time. He really needs.
And another Phoenix going to go down as well. Just carelessness from both players.
Yeah, but ForJumy's moving out on the map now, pulling his Colossus and pulling everything into the middle of the map and trying to catch this bio off guard.
Interestingly, it looks like what was going to be Phoenix Colossus, ForJumy is transitioning out of that. He's got his Twilight Council, he's going for charge, so he's going for that charged Phoenix Colossus play, which I must say at this stage is very scary for Raza.
Yeah, I think, just by having a few of these really powerful units in the Disruptor, in the Colossus, it's definitely going to be a bit of a worry. I really can't split my bio, so I lose to one Disruptor. I think Raza probably won't, but the possibility is always there. It's always a worry. It's always a risk.
Right, ForJumy is now going to look at his third base and wonder, hang on a minute, what is the distance between this base and the blue mineral patches? That seems like quite a marathon for a probe.
It's going to be a little bit inefficient, I'll say that much.
He actually recalls probes to that base as well to be able to mine from it. I do wonder if the fact that this base is so close to Raza as well, it could actually serve as a charged up run-by point.
Yeah, or he can recall aggressive units to that base and use that to send them in.
Double drop in the Protoss space. It's taking out every single probe. It's going to take out the tech as well. He's going to take out the Dark Shrine. He actually finds a flank on the Colossus, but gets swarmed by the chargelets. The Phoenix as well will take out the medevac, so there's no running away from this one.
Yeah, Raza does get his bio caught completely out of position and his tanks completely unsieged. I'm hoping he has more of a siege line to fall back to, because otherwise he's in a lot of trouble.
Raza's done essentially critical damage against ForJumy. He's taken out so many workers. He's going to jump on the Colossus, but with the shield batteries, I don't think there's anything more to be done. But he needs to be able to defend at home.
Yeah, he is going to need to pull workers here, I think.
There's just not a lot here. ForJumy's going to lift up the tank. He's on top of the bio, and there's just not a lot left. SCVs are starting to go down, and like I said, Raza is defending with his reinforcements, but they get picked off because they're streaming out one by one. This is it, GG! ForJumy takes it 4-1. What a series!
Such a close final map there. A really, bold play for Raza. Picking up and going straight for the main. Sniping that Dark Shrine and, trying to get little edges in that game, but ForJumy just smells blood.
He had nothing left behind it, though. Yep. That's why ForJumy was able to step up with his Colossus and Gateway units and just chew through Raza's units.
Yeah, keeping those two Colossus alive, from that first push that he held, keeping them so that they, they don't go down. He can use those later on as he, maneuvers through the rest of the game, keeping them for, later pushes. I think that was, so important.
Ironically, that Ninja third base as well was only really used as a proxy gateway, away from fast warpins.
Yeah, but it's a good play, I think, and it would have, even had he not not won when he did, it would have given him a little bit more longevity in the game.
Absolutely.
I think we're now going to pass over to the hosts on the main stage for their winners interview with ForJumy.